does a profile on cards, doesn't even include these two cards. Noob.
Hey, what's up guys? It's Konobandit. I'm here with our long-awaited Trickstar profile. I finally got all the cards for it, and I'm gonna give it to you with the main deck, extra deck, and side deck also. Alright, so let's start off with, of course, main girl of the deck. We have 3 Trickster Candina. Candina searches any Trickster card, guys. It searches like Horus, it searches Reincarnation, it searches Light Sage, it could even search Lilybell. And if you open with this, like, you could just continue your play. So this is the first card we're using. Of course, you got to run 3, and then of course you have to run 3 like Horus. This is the basis of this deck, is to burn your opponent in before they could even do anything. And if you have 3 like Horuses on the board and you have 2 Reincarnations set, I'm pretty sure you have game at that point. So we have the like Horuses here. Of course, you need to run 3 of these, no less. You cannot run less than 3. We run the 1 Lilybell. We only run 1 Lilybell because what it can do is it can attack directly, and then you can get a Trickster card from the graveyard back into your hand. It's not the best card, but if this is added to your hand by not drawing, you get the special summon it for free. So what's a good combo with this is you get the like Horus, you bounce this back to your hand, and then you special summon it again because it was added to your hand without you drawing it. So then you get this out, and this is more for like later in the game. This is not good if this is in your opening hand. That's why we only run the 1. Moving on to non-Trickster cards, monsters, we run 2 Honest. Of course, we got to run the Honest because this is going to protect every single one of your cards in this deck except 1. But this just helps you survive mid-game. If you didn't get your opponent in the beginning of the game, this helps you win, and it helps you keep your cards alive, because if they know you have that Honest in your hand, they're not going to want to attack you because they don't want to die, they don't want to lose their monster. So we run 2 Honest, of course. Moving on, we run the 1 Barrier Statue of the Heavens. This is one of our what is it called? Ties of the Brethren targets. We bring this out, and it's perfect for anyone who you're playing against that isn't using a light deck. You could obviously side this out if you're playing someone that has light cards in their deck. So we run the 1 Barrier Statue. And moving on, we also run the Banisher of the Light and Marshmallow. And this is for your Ties of the Brethren targets when you have like Horus on the board. Obviously, you can't destroy Marshmallow except in battle. You can't destroy it, so you leave this in defense. And then the Banisher of the Light banishes every single card on the field. It just stops so many of your opponent's plays. They don't want to deal with this, and it's just fantastic. So I added this little spicy tech into it when I was thinking about making the deck. Moving on from that, we run 1 Droll and Lockbird. A nice little combo with Droll and Lockbird is that you can use Trickster Reincarnation, or if your opponent already searched that turn, you can do the Reincarnation, banish their whole hand, and then they're not going to be able to draw any cards. So this is it's just fantastic. So moving on from that, guys, like I told you, we run the 1 Bistro Butcher. Like, you gotta run the Bistro Butcher, man. It's just fantastic, and this is the only card in the deck that moving on from that, but this is one of, you can't use Honest on this, but it's still fantastic. Lets your opponent draw if you have like Horus on the field and you're attacking, because you do actually attack with this deck, like if you're in mid game. So of course we run the Bistro Butcher. We run the 1 Ash Blossom. I only have 1 Ash Blossom. If I had more, I'd probably add another one in, but obviously 1 Ash Blossom. Moving on, we have 1 Gen X Ally Birdman. There's a nice little combo with this, with the Candina. You bounce Candina back in your hand, then you can use Candina's effect again next turn. That's if you don't have the like Horus for some reason, like you didn't search it. But this is good as well. Moving on to spells, we of course run 3 Trickster Light Stage. Trickster Light Stage actually has 3 effects. One of them is to add a Trickster monster to your hand, so you can add any of the monsters in your hand. The second effect is that you can target any of your opponent's face down cards, and they have to use it that end phase. And even if they can't like activate it or anything like that, that means that it's just going to go off. So say they had a Solemn Warning set, and you told them like you have to activate it at an end phase because of this effect, it just gets wasted. They're not going to take the life points for it, but they just lost their Solemn Warning. So moving on, oh, and then the third effect for that is obviously it adds 200 effect damage when you take effect damage from the Trickster cards. So we run the 2 Terraforming. I'm only running the 2 because I'm pretty sure Terraforming is going to get hit. So I'm preparing myself for that ban list, and we run the 2 Terraforming. If it gets hit to 1, I'm going to replace this with another card, but 2 Terraforming, of course. We run 2 Ties the Brethren. Like this card's just fantastic, guys. Like you do take 2,000 life points and you can't conduct your battle phase that turn, but it doesn't matter. And I'm seeing people use this card and not just Trickstars, and using this in everything. Like this is a good tech. So moving on from that, we run the 3 Into the Voids. It's great for getting all your cards. We run a lot of spells and traps, so you can set them all. And it doesn't really matter if like Candina's in the graveyard, like if you got to throw her out, or any other monster card, because you're trying to get as many of the spells and traps as possible to finish your opponent off. So moving on from that, we run 1 Dark World Aliens. Your opponent draws a card, they discard a card, so it's pretty great. But Dark World Aliens, you get to draw a card also, you get to discard a card, it's great. Moving on from that, we run 1 Contract with Don 1000. This is a little tech that I like. It makes your opponent take 1,000, and then for every card they draw, or you draw, you have to show it to your opponent, which is good so you know like what your opponent has in your hand, and it lets them know like if you have the Honest in your hand, so that's like a thing that they don't want to deal with. And it also, if you draw a spell, your opponent can't conduct a normal summon that turn unless they use that card or set it. So it's fantastic for that as well. And sorry about the noise, guys. But moving on from that, we run, of course, you got to run the 3 Trickster Reincarnation. Like I know it's an expensive card, guys, $30 right now, but like if you're running a Trickster deck, you have to get these cards. You have to like banish the entire hand and make them draw. Like this is fantastic. It also has a second effect that most people aren't even paying attention to, is that you can banish this and then bring back any of your Trickster monsters that were in the graveyard, which is fantastic. You just special summon on the field, you can bring out another like Horus and get even more burn damage. So moving on from that, we run 3 present cards. Same thing, except for banish, this sends it to the graveyard and makes your opponent draw 5. So this is good if your opponent had only 1 card in their hand. So if you want to get all that burn damage out, you use the present card as the first thing in your chain. And, or technically, yeah. But use this, make them draw the 5, then you can do the reincarnation, or you can do, what I like after that is the 3 Disturbance Strategy. The same as the others, except you make them shuffle their cards back in their deck. So it's not, in my opinion, it's not as good, but it makes them draw the same amount of cards that they shuffled in, so you're gonna make them take the burn damage. And what's good about this one is that can be used as many times, so you can use 3 of these a turn. This can only be used once. So present card, you can only use 1 per turn. So those are good as well. Moving on to the last 3 cards, we run 1 Side Effects. Side Effects is a good little tech. If Terraforming got hit to 1, I'd have 2 of these. What this does is your opponent chooses to draw 1 of 3 cards, and then you gain 2,000 life points for every card that they choose to draw. So if they do 3, you get to get 6,000 life points, and the only bad situation is if you didn't have like Horus on the field, because then you're just giving them free cards for no reason. Moving on from that, we run the 1 Ring of Destruction. Simple as that. You make your opponent take burn damage, you take it too. It doesn't really matter if you take the damage. You're trying to kill your opponent as fast as possible, and this is perfect for getting rid of cards that you don't know how to get rid of other ways. And then of course, 1 Magic Cylinder. Your opponent's taking damage. That's the whole point of the deck. You're trying to get your opponent to die. So moving on from that main deck, let's go into the extra deck. So we don't really use a lot of extra deck monsters in this deck, but it's good to have nonetheless. We run 2 Holly Angel. What Holly Angel does is that whenever a Trickster card is summoned to its link zones, they take 200 burn damage. So it's just an extra little thing. And then this gains attack for every effect damage that your opponent takes that turn from a Trickster card. So if you made your opponent take 1,200 damage from a reincarnation with Lycoris, this gains 1,200. It's now 3,200 for that turn, which is good for beat sticking over bigger things that you can't defeat nonetheless. So 2 of these. We run 1 Guy Saber. It's a simple, generic 3 link monster. It's just great for getting your plays out if you're trying to do your extra deck monsters. Moving on, we run the 1 Decode Talker. We know what Decode Talker does. It's about a staple right now for every deck that's using link monsters, so 1 Decode Talker. And since we have a tuner in the deck, we run the Black Rose Moonlight Dragon, and we run Black Rose Dragon. This is my favorite card, as you can see from the mat, but I run these because they're just my favorite ones. So other than those are the only 2 synchros we run. And moving to the Xyz, we run Fujinti Tsukiyomi. You can make Tsukiyomi in this deck, guys. Like, I know you might not want to, but this is good if you want to get your draws out and just extend your plays if you have like 2 Candidas on the field for some reason. So we have this. Moving on, we run 1 Diamond Direwolf, 1 Gaga Cowboy, 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 Daigusta Emerald, 1 Castel, and then 1 Dark Rebellion and 1 Tornado Dragon. So those for a rank 4 toolbox. And then the last card we run for the extra deck is the Phantom Knight's Break Sword. We have level 3 monsters, so you can make rank 3, and this is good for just getting rid of problematic cards. So moving on from that, we run for the side deck. The side deck isn't really catered to the meta. Like, I do have some cards to stop meta cards, but it's more for if your opponent knows what you're playing, so they're going to start playing differently, and you're going to have to change your style up for the second game. Like, you can't keep with that strategy if you didn't get the dice roll. So of course I run 2 more Droll and Lockbirds. This is to keep your opponent from not getting the cards from the reincarnation. We run the Flying Sea, of course, for the Xyz monsters your opponent's going to make. 2 DD Crows, banished cards, it's simple as that. We run 1 Firecracker. I talked about this in the video. This makes your opponent take 1,000 damage. I decided not to main deck it because it's a little too slow for my taste, but I still think it's good if you're trying to get that damage out. You can take other cards in, take other cards out just to add this one in. Then we run Shared Ride and Mistaken Arrest. This is just good because, in my opinion, when your opponent's adding cards to their hand, you have to stop them, and I think every deck does that, so it isn't a bad option to side in, and it's also good for this deck because it's just it makes it faster for you to get your cards. So moving on from that, we run the 1 Regeki, of course, run the Regeki. We run a System Down. I'm pretty sure ABCs are going to come back into the meta, so run the System Down. It's going to be great. We run 1 Unending Nightmare. This is for the matchup against True Draco. You want to destroy their stuff. You don't want to keep that on the board. So we run this. We run 1 Magic Deflector. We run a Mistake. You run a Heavy Dust Storm and a Solemn Strike for the last 4. And these are all just good cards to have in. I don't have any back row removal for this deck, so that's why we run the Heavy Dust Storm. The Solemn Strike's always good. Mistake's great in this as well, and so is Magic Deflector. So yeah, that's it for the deck profile, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think. I'm gonna proceed to show you guys some combos that you'd like to use in this deck that would help out a lot. So say you're going first, all right, and you have a Lycoris, a Candina, and let's say you have 1 Disturbance Strategy, a Reincarnation, and a Terraforming in your hand. That's your starting hand, right? Now this is actually really good. This is an ideal starting hand that you want, because you could go into the Terraforming to go into Light Stage. When you get the Light Stage, you can add a Lycoris to your hand. You normal summon the Candina, add another Reincarnation to your hand. So then you'd have 3 Reincarnations. You'd set all of these down. You'd have 2 Lycorises on the field. So let's just imagine what that will look like. 2 Lycorises. Then you have another Trickstar Reincarnation set. So here's the Reincarnation. We're going to set that. 2 Lycorises on the field, and these are your 3 cards. You have a Light Stage on the field as well. So let's get that out here. And that's basically what your board is looking at. This is what in its graveyard. Your opponent draws their card. You activate Reincarnation, Disturbance Strategy, and then Reincarnation. So they're going to draw all their cards. They're going to have 6 cards in their hand. They're going to take 1,400 for each one of these that happens. So the 1,400, 1,400, 1,400. Then they're going to do it again for the Lycoris. So it'll be another 1,400, another 1,400, another 1,400. And this is ideally what you'd want to have, because then your opponent's already at the brink of their death. They're not going to be able to do anything. So that's a starting. That's what you want to do with your starting hand, is how to burn them. Other than that, there's a strategy with getting. If you can get the Ties of the Brethren and you have the Lycoris out in the field, so use Ties of the Brethren, you bring out the Banisher of the Light and the Marshmallow, and this is more of the stall strategy against your opponent. If you didn't open that perfect hand, you have to get up to that to get the perfect hand. And this will just help you stay alive, because your opponent now has everything banished, and they can't destroy this if they're using battle, so they have to find a way to get rid of this. And it's just a perfect way to get around everything. And then honestly, guys, those are just 2 little things that I think is really good at this deck. You could also do the Candina for the Barrier Statue and the Honest. Add the Honest to your hand. Now your opponent knows you have an Honest. They're going to want to attack your Candina unless they have a way around that. So that's another thing you do. But Ties of the Brethren and obviously all the back row drawing cards. Those are the 2 main things that I think is great with this deck. So Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked the profile and what I had to say. I'm sorry that there was some noise in the background. We're out in public right here, but I really appreciate it. And let me know what you guys think, and make sure to like and subscribe. Peace out, guys.